Hello everyone, welcome back to the Undercut and welcome to the predictions for the Chinese Grand Prix sprint weekend. So the first sprint weekend of the season, Mr. Jack.
Yes, first sprint weekend of the season, and it has to be an early sprint weekend, doesn't it?
Oh, of course it does. I mean, 2:30 in the morning. I mean, come on. I saw something that said that the sprint starts at 2:30, and I was like, I swear it's 3, but if it turns out to be 2:30, and I have to get up at 2, I'm gonna kick off.
I thought it started at 3.
I did as well, but Sky Sports put out a graphic that was wrong because they mixed the times with race starts and then the coverage starts.
Yeah,
so it made it seem like everything started like a half an hour before, and I was just like, bro, this is not looking good.
It's very smart to get his viewage.
Yeah, it is, to be fair. It is. To trick everyone to waking up like half an hour earlier.
Exactly, that's the plan.
That is the plan. So, but before we do jump into the predictions, we've actually got some news, F1 related. Actually, it's pretty big for us to not just sort of touch upon before we talk about our predictions for the sprint weekend.
Yes, the return of the V10s.
Yes.
Oh, we love a V10. I mean, these engines, they're being discussed by Formula One to come back in 2028.
Yes.
That is one option. I mean, there is another, and it's to keep the 2028 I'm reading it out. 2026 regulations for 3 years instead of the planned 5.
Yeah.
Before switching to V10s. Now that's a bit strange.
It's strange. On one hand, the positives for this is obviously we love the sound of the V10 engines. That would be awesome to have back in Formula One. But obviously, another positive is that it means if they're putting a potential plan in place, that means they've worked out a way to make the V10s hybrid.
Yeah.
Which is good because obviously sustainability and reducing carbon emissions and stuff. So, that means that's good. They've worked a way to make these engines hybrid, which is great for the sport. The cons is if we're having only 3 years of these regulations, what's the point?
Well, if they're planning 2028, it's only 2 years.
Exactly. So
3 years is the second option.
So why don't we just stick with these cars that we've got now? The ground effect cars. Like honestly, because we've seen last year, 2024, how close the field got because of development races and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, McLaren have got an advantage this year, but that's not to say that by the end of the season, Ferrari are the fastest, or Red Bull are the fastest again, or Mercedes are the fastest. Maybe Williams catch up. You don't know. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it does make zero sense. However, I do like a V10, so
yeah, I do like a V10. So we're okay.
I don't really care.
And plus, it's already in motion, isn't it? You can't stop these new regulations.
Yeah, now. I mean, the people that will care the most is probably the teams.
Yeah.
I mean, they've worked so hard. They've got these 5-year regulations where the predominant change is engine for these 2026. And then they're finding out instead of 5 years, it could be 2.
Yeah, I would not be surprised that if we get minimal development in these new regulations. I would not be surprised if we get to Bahrain 2027 and the testing times are not that much quicker than the 2026 testing times. If it turns out that the 2028 are going to be V10 engines and there is going to be a significant regulation change. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there is that V10 engine coming in 2028 if we don't see development on the scale that we saw the likes of McLaren do from 2023 to now.
Yeah, you just won't see it.
No.
Which is unfortunate because it could potentially mean that if one car is absolutely dominant, it means we're going to get probably guaranteed 2 years of it.
Yeah, I mean, if a car does hit the blocks out like Red Bull did 2023, 2022 sort of.
Mercedes 2014.
Mercedes 2014, then there's, well, your bets are in.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah. Absolutely. But either way, it'll be exciting. Let's jump into our predictions then. So, I mean, the Chinese Grand Prix last year was also a sprint weekend. I actually wasn't here for the Chinese weekend. I didn't watch any of the sessions live. It was only you. I was actually in Venice at the time, so that was quite fun. But
Shocking.
what was the sprint weekend like last year?
Early,
Yep.
but quite good. I mean, if I remember rightly, we had wet qualifyings. We had a very good race. I think we had Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso come together at one point. We had that big controversy of Sainz spinning off, cutting out on straight, but got going again and was able to compete in Q3.
Yeah, and that's why they brought in the rule where if your marshals have to help you, you are officially out of the session.
Yeah, so he was able to. So that was that controversy. But all in all, I think it was quite a good weekend. Good race. Good qualifying. Yeah, I wasn't mad at China being a sprint last year.
Stroll binned it into Ricardo.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That was Ricardo's fault.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But okay then, let's jump into this. So coming off the back of the Australian Grand Prix, obviously McLaren. I've got a very quick car. Who is your sprint pole position?
My sprint pole position is Lando Norris.
Ah, well, I mean, who else could it be?
Well, yeah, I mean, he had a pretty good race around China last year. He was the closest to Max. I mean, Max was gone.
Yeah.
But Lando was second. Not quite as close to Max, but clear of the rest of the field as well.
Wasn't Hamilton second last year
in the sprint?
In the sprint.
This is in the main race.
Oh, in the main race. Okay. My sprint pole position
was like 8th.
Yeah. In my sprint pole position, I've gone with Max Verstappen. I've got a gut feeling that it's not McLaren are going to be bad. I just think their pace in Australia, I think, was because a lot of it was high speed. Their tyre temps were able to control their tyre temps better than every other team. China does have a lot of high speed sections, but I don't think it's as intense as it is in Australia. And I do think that coming into sprint pole with one practice session, I think Max might be able to nip something out the bag, something special. Doesn't necessarily mean he'll stay there, but we'll get into that. Anyway, what is your sprint?
Well, let's touch on Max. The only thing that I struggle with there with Red Bull, obviously, Max Verstappen's ability, he can do that.
Yeah, of course.
If you gave him a car, he'll do it. However, from what I watched in Australia, it did take Red Bull 3 sessions. It took Red Bull 3 sessions last season quite a lot of the time to have a car ready for qualifying. So it could just be the team that lets Max down when it comes to the sprint.
That's a fair assessment. Yeah, that's also a fair assessment. I guess it's also maybe I'm maybe praying for the reverse of last season, because where last season it was like, okay, Max won't get pole in the sprint. Let's give it to Oscar or Lando or Charles or whoever. Now it's kind of like, well, we know the McLaren's probably going to win, so let's hope someone else makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the sprint top 3 then. So who have you got in third place for the sprint race?
I have got Oscar Piastri.
Okay. Oscar already in there.
Yeah, Oscar in there. I mean, he had a pretty torrid time last year at China.
Yeah.
He could not get his tyres in a working window. They fell off a cliff far too early compared to everyone else. He really struggled. This year, I think he'll do slightly better. I think there are quite a few drivers that are more used to China. You got to remember, I think this is Oscar's second time around China, if I remember rightly, because we didn't have it in his first season.
No, China was last year, and then the year before was Oscar's first season, so it'll be his second.
Yeah,
his second Chinese Grand Prix.
Second Chinese Grand Prix. I mean, China's quite. It can be a difficult track.
Yeah,
China. So, but I think Oscar will do well. I think that McLaren's ridiculously good.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter if Oscar's not on the pace. I think the car's enough for him to get, get it.
But
I do agree. In third place, I've got Max Verstappen.
okay.
Yeah, if he does get the pole, he won't stay there. I mean, I think it's pretty evident who is in front of him, but yeah. Who have you got in second place?
I've got Lewis Hamilton.
Excuse me?
I'm
Excuse me?
I'm not falling off the Ferrari hype train yet.
Jesus, bro, they finished 8th
No.
and 10th in Australia. What are you
Yes.
on?
For a glorious 30 seconds, they were P1 and P2. So
They're the only other team other than McLaren to be P1 and 2 in a race so far.
look,
It's
listen,
been one
right?
race.
Them 30 seconds were the highlight of Australia for me.
Good grief.
So I'm not falling off the hype train yet. No.
Okay, right. Okay,
China
Hamilton
is
second.
a track where Lewis Hamilton thrives at as well.
Yeah, he does. He excels
I mean,
at
we
China.
saw last year P2 in that dog of a Mercedes that was at the start of last year. P2 in the sprint quali was leading half of the sprint race until Max Verstappen came through. And secured the P2 in the race, in the sprint race anyway. So he knows China, he's good at China, and I believe he'll get P2.
Fair enough. I mean, more power to you. If Lewis Hamilton finishes second in the sprint, fair enough. Second place, I've gone with Oscar Piastri, largely about what you said. I don't think he'll win the sprint. I think there are other drivers that are stronger around this track, one being his teammate. And yeah, I just get the feeling that, you know, when push comes to shove, Oscar will have the edge sometimes, but I think 80% of the time, I think his teammate does have the edge. And whether that's experience or just raw pace, I don't know. We'll find out this season, I think, with them two being at the front, but I just got a feeling Oscar will lose out.
Yeah, no, that's
and I mean, I think it's obvious who you've got in first.
yes, I have Lando Norris.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, I think Oscar looked quick, if not quicker than Lando at parts in Australia. However, from what I saw in Australia, Oscar still has a mistake in him. I don't think Lando does anymore.
That's
or
fair.
as much.
Yeah. Yeah, because we saw that when they both went off in Australia in the same part of the track, that fast right-hander in Sector 3, they both took exactly the same line, but the way that Lando controlled it to bring it back on the track was wasn't as frantic as Oscar, and as we saw, it cost Oscar. So I think there's maybe that sort of Lando's got that sort of on lockdown now. You know, he's sort of damage limitation sort of thing. In first, I've got Lando Norris as well for the sprint. Yeah, I mean, he's on a high after Australia. He's won the last two races, Abu Dhabi as well. He's on a high. McLaren's the best car. He's the informed driver. So, let's move on to the main race then. So, who have you got on pole position for the main race? No, you haven't put Ferrari, have you? Look, I don't like that. I don't like that smile. Who's on pole?
Charles Leclerc.
Why? Why?
Back. Ferrari are back. Even Fred's saying their season starts now.
You're setting them up to fail, man.
No, I'm setting them up to succeed.
You are. You're setting them up to fail. There's no way Charles wins this race.
They're going
Absolutely
to succeed. Come on, Charles.
It's absolutely no way.
It's Charles Leclerc. If Ferrari give him a car that's there, he's whacking that on pole.
Yeah, if they do, he is on pole, but I just don't see it.
I do.
I'm sorry. I just don't see it. I just can't.
Come on,
cannot.
Ferrari.
For pole position, I've gone with Lando Norris. Yeah, I mean...
Boring.
I know, boring, but, like, come on. It's predictions. Like, I can't write Lando. Lando will get pole. Like, he just will. Like, categorically.
Do you know what we should start doing?
What?
We should start taking points.
We should. I think that'd be quite
we
fun.
get right, and we should put a bet on for the end of the season.
Actually, no, we'll do that now. I'll go back to the Australia pod. I'll tally up who got what right. And starting with
Get it in a spreadsheet.
get it in a spreadsheet. Starting from the Japanese Grand Prix, we'll start tallying the points in the post-race pod and giving everyone the points and see who wins.
All right.
Let's do it. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. Race top 3.
Race top 3.
Yeah. In third place, you have.
Lewis Hamilton.
No, of course. Of course.
Come on, Ferrari are back.
What's your Ferrari are back? They just went.
Yeah, well, look.
Their car is ass.
If you look at the weather today, like, granted, if you look at the weather today,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
nice and sunny outside.
Mm-hmm.
A Ferrari would probably put on intermediates in this weather.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
However, then people have been told, look, you've got a 7-time world champion in your car. 8-time, actually.
Oh.
Sort your shit out.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying. Like they have got to sort themselves out, and it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. This is Ferrari.
It is Ferrari, and they'll sort themselves out, and Lewis will get P3.
Okay, right. Okay, we'll see. In third place, I've gone with Andrea Kimi Antonelli.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not exactly.
They struggled last year around here.
They did, and I'm not exactly riding the hype train as such, but I just think he showed masterful race pace in Australia, and I get the impression. And by the way, you know that joke about Hamilton and Russell that doesn't matter where they start, they always finish together on a track? That happened with Antonelli and Russell, which I thought was really funny.
I know.
But because of what I saw from Antonelli's racecraft and race pace in China, he's not afraid to make the moves when he has to. He's got incredible tyre conservation somehow. He's a rookie and he's great on his tyres. He's got incredible race pace, consistent race pace. He was the only rookie not to bin it. I think if he gets his qualifying on lockdown, if he's in that top 8, I think he's got a very, very fantastic chance at a podium, especially with Ferrari's woes, Lawson obviously not being on pace.
Well, there's no Ferrari woes anymore.
Well, according to your predictions, there's not.
Exactly.
All he's got to do, in my head, really, is beat George Russell. And I think that's not out the realms of possibility. And if he does, I think a podium could be on the cards. So I've gone with Kimi Antonelli in third. It's not as outlandish as people might make it out to be.
No, I mean, the only thing I would say about Antonelli is I knew from his F2 race in Britain last year how good he was in the wet. So I knew when it came to Australia in the wet what I was going to get from him. Now, is he just a wet weather master?
There's always a possibility.
I mean, if it's a bone dry race, then I'd like to see if he has that sort of pace and that sort of craft against the big runners on a dry race if it's all close together.
Yeah. Well, we'll
That's
see.
the only thing. I knew in a wet race, Antonelli's ridiculously good. For a rookie, for an 18-year-old, he's unbelievable. And I would probably put him up there as among the best in the wet. Already.
Damn.
Yeah. But when it's dry, obviously, I haven't seen the weather report for China this weekend. But if it's dry all weekend, I'm struggling with Antonelli.
Well, we'll see, won't we?
Yeah.
Let's go with second place then.
Second place, I've got Lando Norris.
Oh.
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
I've got Lando. I mean, it's not a bad second place. I think he'll have a good race. I just think he'll be just beaten out. To be fair, only just. I mean, it'll be close. We could have a battle for first, but I think he might just be pipped.
That's fair. That's fair. In second place, I've gone with Oscar Piastri. Once again, I don't, he struggled in China last year slightly. And it's weird with Oscar. The start and the end of the season, he always seems to... I mean, Australia proved this theory wrong, but last season, he struggled the start and the end of the season, kind of fell off a bit, had a really big purple patch in the middle of the season. I just maybe think, is there some tracks that he has to sort of get to grips with? You know, Austin wasn't amazing for him. Mexico wasn't. Japan wasn't last season. China wasn't. Is this going to be another one of them? If it is, he will lose out, but he's got a quick enough car to be second. So I've gone with second place, but I think first for me is comfortably first. And who is first for you?
I mean, I have just heard everything that you've said about Oscar, to be fair, and struggling. But I agree, so that's why he's not even on the podium. So I've gone with Charles Leclerc in first.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, you are deluded on another scale.
No, no, no.
You can't do this. No. You
are.
can't do this.
Well, I've just done this.
Bloody hell. Charles Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc.
My God. Right. Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, if Charles Leclerc wins this race, then more power to you.
Thank you.
In first, I've gone with Lando Norris. Yeah, I can't not. I mean, I know it's boring. I know I've put him first out of the 3 predictions, out of the four, but I just can't not. You know what I mean? Like, Lando Norris is... I mean, I've already said everything I need to say about Lando Norris. I just think he'll win. That's it. Let's move on to the flop and the star of the weekend then. So who have you got for the flop of the weekend for the Chinese Grand Prix?
For flop of the weekend, I think it'll be similar to last time we were out in China.
Ooh, well, there was quite a few flops.
Well, yeah, but the main flop was Lance Stroll.
Now, usually I'd call this a cop-out, especially if we're going to start tallying points on this. You can't put Stroll every time to get an easy point, right?
No, but he did just pick up P6.
This is what I was going to say. So it'd usually be a cop-out, but since Stroll finished 6th, I guess a flop is maybe on the cards for Stroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. My flop of the weekend, I feel bad because he's one of my favourite drivers. Alex Albon. Yeah, he's, I think he surprised a lot of people beating Carlos Sainz in Australia, but I think Carlos will bounce back. You can't write off Carlos. Carlos will bounce back, and I think he'll have a much better weekend than Albon. And yeah, I don't think Albon will have a terrible weekend. He might even score points. That we know that Williams is sort of towards the top end of the midfield, so I think he could still score points. But I think Carlos will have an amazing weekend. I think Carlos could even break top 8 ahead of the likes of Liam Lawson, maybe a Ferrari or 2.
No, well, he's not going to be ahead of either Ferrari. They're on the podium.
We'll see. We will see. We will see. But yeah, I've gone with Alex Albon, my flop of the weekend.
Fair.
Who is your star of the weekend?
My star is Yuki Tsunoda.
Ooh, okay.
I think he will beat Lawson again. I think he may even pip a Mercedes this weekend. I think he'll be a comfortable top 10 finish.
Okay.
I just think he's just going to keep churning in results. We saw how good he was at the start of last season. I think he's just going to get even better, and he's just going to keep proving to Red Bull that I want a shot in that seat. And if I don't get a shot in that seat, I'm leaving the Red Bull family.
That's fair. That's fair. My star of the weekend is going to be Gabriel Bortoleto. Yeah, he'll bounce back. We saw glimpses of what he can do. Outqualified Nico Hülkenberg in Australia. I just feel like if he can continue that form into this weekend, he's got 4 sessions to prove himself. And I think if we do get a spicy sprint race or a spicy normal race, maybe 1 or 2 points could be on the cards for him. And if he does manage to pick up that, being, sort of in the mix, then I think he will definitely deserve a shout for star of the weekend. So I've gone with Gabriel Bortolesso. If not, obviously Carlos Sainz. I was close to saying Carlos Sainz in opposition to Alex Albon, but that was a cop out. So I went Bortolesso for my star of the weekend.
Huh?
But anyway, that is it for our Chinese Grand Prix predictions. Any final thoughts?
No. Up the Tifosi.
Good grief. You can't say this man is affected by British bias, because this man is like 100% Italian now.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, right. Well, we'll see you for qualifying on the Friday morning. Well, you'll see you, and then you'll see me at 2:30 in the morning for the sprint, unfortunately.